going to be going live today. We're talking on the topic of habit change. Habit change, why sometimes it can be difficult, but why just even the smallest of habits can really lead to the biggest of results. So if you are watching live, then please, of course, give me a thumbs up or say hi. Please do post any questions if they do pop up. Really love to create some interaction where we can, and all of your questions will go answered. Hey, Sezzy, hope you're having a good day, Chicky. Right, so today's topic is on habit change and how we can look at making the smallest of changes have the biggest results. So one of the things that I first wanted to sort of start with is basically the common understanding of 5 stages of habit change. Now there's actually 6. And once I explain this, you guys will probably get a good understanding. Hey, Breezer. Hey, Jazz. Thanks so much for jumping on, ladies. Once you hear what these 6 habit stages are, you will probably resonate with a few of them. So one of them is pre-contemplation. So this stage is basically where we are maybe still a little bit unaware that there is something that needs to be adjusted or something that needs to be changed. And if we aren't aware of it, then we aren't in the realm of wanting to change anything. Hey, Amy. And then stage 2 is contemplation. So this is where we can actually identify that there is potentially something that is problematic or something that needs to be changed. And we start to contemplate potentially, what that is. And then we can acknowledge that there may be some further steps to be taken. The next one is the preparation stage. So this is where we actually accept that there is a bit of a problem. We start to put some research or start to do a little bit digging as to how we can make changes. A lot of people do spend a lot of time in this stage because there is so much out there. There is so many services and so many businesses that are willing to help that there is sometimes quite a lot of digging to do. Next one is action, and this is where we're actively making change happen. So looking at, potentially making a change to your schedule or changing the days that you do your groceries so that you have food in the house to do meal prep on Sunday. This is the stage where it gets a little bit exciting. Number 5 is maintenance. So this is where we've gone through, we've identified there's a problem, we've actually actioned on it, and now we're at that stage where we've created a little bit of maintenance around our new habit or our new sort of, I suppose, way of living. Then this one, number 6, and maybe this is something that people have gone around and completely done a full 360 with, is actually the relapse stage. So this is the stage where we're going fantastic, and then maybe we get COVID. So our exercise routine that we were doing, it was feeling great, we were feeling good, but something come up and we've hit a hurdle. So the 6 stages of habit change, they are pre-contemplation, contemplation, preparation, action, maintenance, and relapse, which is one that generally isn't spoken about. Now, I'm going to also just touch on why each stage can have its own sort of challenges and how that we can then combat that. So one of the challenges of, pre-contemplation stage is, of course, we don't know that there's a problem, or when we're not choosing to acknowledge that there is a problem. So this is the stage that can be probably frustrating for loved ones and friends because they potentially can identify already that there is something that needs to be changed, but they're not able to get that through to us. So then we get into that contemplation stage where we actually, sort of become aware that there is a problem, something that might need to be changed. And I suppose the challenge that can come up with being in that stage is not knowing where to go. So not knowing how to then get into that stage of researching to take action. And this is what a lot of people become a little bit stumped with, or sometimes can find themselves going down a path that's not empowering to them or not aligned to them. And in that stage, sometimes can give up on actually what it is they're looking to achieve. So when we get caught up in actually achieving the goal and we start to disconnect from what is actually aligned with us in our why, this is when sometimes we will actually start to, take a bit of backward step, or we can start to research and start to want to make change, but then we don't follow through. And this is a challenge that I, definitely see a lot of clients in particular going through. We start, and then if it's not aligned with us, we don't follow through. So we think that the goal is not achievable, not the path that we went about it. So this is why it's also really important to find out what your values are, and then you can show up in the best way. So let's have a bit of an example. If your value or if your goal was to eat healthier, then one of the things that you might like to do, a habit you want to adopt, is to actually start to prepare some meals. Now, if you're wanting to prepare meals to eat less takeaway, but you're not actually aligning with the fact that you have to go and have the food in the house, allows for time on Sunday to do so. Maybe you need to have all the tools in the house ready to go. These things are seen as discomfort. Now, if the goal of actually eating better to support your energy, increase vitality, isn't aligned with you as a person, then that discomfort is going to seem almost too strong to actually take action. So what we want to do in this situation is just take a little bit of a step back and make sure that the goal or the habit that we're looking to adopt is aligned with us. And let's just draw it back to a bit of a why. This is why it's super important to not just adopt a habit because it's seen as healthy or somebody else is doing it. It's got to be something that has really got to work in with your lifestyle. Another really good example is, getting up early and doing your workout first thing. Now, that may be just the perfect way for a lot of people, but it also may not be, because a lot of people have a very different circadian rhythm. So they may actually have more energy and more ability towards the end of the day. Maybe the end of the day workout is actually what is a stress relief and calms them down. So if you are trying to, that Missy Higgins song, squeeze a triangle through a circle, if you're trying to do that, then we are actually increasing the amount of discomfort, and we are increasing the amount of disconnect between you and your values. So it's also really important to understand that, yes, of course, we want to create, amazing habits and live a healthy lifestyle, but we need to functionally and, ethically actually bring that back to ourselves and see how we can identify the best path for ourselves. Because our mind, lo and behold, will always want to take the path of least resistance. So the more often that we actually do adopt that path, so the more often that we decide to then go get takeaway, then the easier it is for our body to take that action every single time. Now, the reason creating or changing habits is difficult for the first initial period is because what happens is our brain actually creates neural pathways. Now, the more often we do an activity, then the stronger that neural pathway becomes. The less often we do it, it doesn't mean it's not impossible, because again, as we retrain our brain, we retrain and re-strengthen the new neural pathway of washing up the veggies, doing the groceries, making sure we're cooking a healthy, well-balanced meal. And then that becomes a habit, or as we're speaking in stages, it becomes a maintenance stage. So what we want to do ideally is identify and align with our values so that those little moments of discomfort are actually accepted. They can be acceptable, okay? And then once we've actually accepted the moments of discomfort, we can work through them. We're working through them to get to maintenance stage. And then obviously this is where a really good coach comes into play, because even though, it's easy to sort of have that motivation and kickstart a goal, but sometimes when you get to there and then you get to that maintenance stage, that's where the drive and motivation can kick off. So having an accountability coach or somebody who can acknowledge that, okay, you've done the work so far, but what do we need to do now to make sure that maintenance gets you to where you actually want to be, and we don't just drop off after a moment. The other thing is each time we follow that path of resistance, we're actually strengthening our ability to be resilient and to face a challenge. So the more often we're able to do that, that means that the more often things come up, or potentially we do go through that relapse stage, we are more likely to come back out of that relapse stage, but we're also likely to come out of it sooner and sooner each time. So this is where yo-yo dieting can be really well understood. A lot of people potentially will be going through a stage where they lose their weight, then they put it back on, lose their weight, put it back on, because we're going through that relapse stage of, okay, this discomfort is just too uncomfortable now. It no longer aligns with me. So they drop back into relapse. But then the discomfort of being where they are after relapsing definitely doesn't align with them, so they have to then start again. So you can kind of understand how we can create that cycle, and a lot of people go through it. So don't at all, if you're acknowledging that you potentially have, don't at all feel any guilt there. There are ways and means to work around it, because change is not impossible. So just being aware that you are not where you want to be just yet is enough to start to build a new neural pathway. So if we can build that new, action or that new motivation to push into a little bit of discomfort, and then we just have to strengthen it. So to strengthen it, this is where we focus on tracking habits. For example, if we go back to wanting to eat less takeaway and make sure we're eating well, so we're meal prepping, then if we book that in, let's take the resistance of when we're going to do it, not having the food available, not knowing what to cook. Let's take all of those questions and resistance away and book it in every Sunday as an example. Then what we're doing every week, we're strengthening that new neural pathway, which then creates the habit to become at maintenance stage, and then hopefully we can continue that. But again, remembering if you do relapse and miss a Sunday, it's okay, because you've got that nice strong neural pathway to jump back on and do it again. So I really hope that makes some sort of sense, and it just allows a little bit of self-compassion. If you have started, a particular fitness routine, or if you do have goals, then maybe you can identify what stage of habit change you're at, and then you can just sort of be aware of what actions can move you forward. This is also a really big reason why I strongly believe in creating a environment that creates accountability and check-ins, because what happens is if we get through a week, first week we're doing fantastic, then we get through the second and something comes up, we don't want you to then fall off. And by fall off, I mean, off track, because if we do, without that ongoing support and accountability to get back on track, we then stay in the relapse stage and we don't go back through that cycle. The more often the longer we stay in that relapse stage, then the stronger we are actually allowing that neural pathway to become. So in a nutshell, you're not the only one if you have started and stopped. But what we want to do is get to a stage where it is embedded in your lifestyle to, as the example I'm using, meal prep as an example. And I know that that's something to me that really aligns to me in the way that I want to show up, the way that I want to live, because I can now connect that to the positives or to the things that are actually aiding in me and helping. As an example, I do some form of meal prep every single week. And whether that is, a full sort of 3-day cook up or whatever, or if that's honestly just making sure that when I'm cooking, I oversupply so that I have meals for the next day. Because to me, the discomfort of having to cook extra is nothing compared to be able to get up from my work desk, go and just heat my lunch. I just need to chuck it in the microwave. And to some people, the discomfort of actually overcooking or making sure that you're cooking a meal outweighs being able to experience a quick and easy meal the next day. Is that because they haven't actually experienced the freedom or the time spare or this, money saving? So it's just about, identifying what it is that actually aligns with you. And that's where you can draw your why from. And that's where you can start to work through those stages of habit change. If you do have any questions on this topic, or if you feel like you are in that stage of contemplation or research or action and you're ready to step it in, then of course, please do reach out, and we would love to see how we can help you get started or maintain or break a plateau or get out of that relapse stage, whatever it is, wherever you're at. We would love for you to reach out. But thanks so much for watching, guys. I hope you have a fantastic day, and we'll see you next week.